Hey, welcome back. So, I'm Sean, next conversation, and I just wanted to talk about this NPC and dimensions thing. And I've been wondering how it works, and I think I've come up with a solution as to the possibility. Now, this isn't fact, so I'm not a scientist, I'm not a metaphysicist, is that a word? But this actually works for me, and how it might or might not relate to or explain things like when people believe they manifest stuff. So bear with me, sorry about a blank piece of paper, but and doing it this way, it's a little bit hands-on, but until I work out how you do a face in a screen and then do it on a computer and all that sort of stuff, I'm new, so please bear with me. I promise I will get better. Okay, so but I really wanted to get this up. So these are subjects I'm just a little bit too passionate about. Anyway, so what I was thinking is this. So as far as scientists and all these kind of people are concerned, there's multiple types of attraction in the world, which is like, so you might have electromagnetic, you might have magnets themselves, so magnetic. There are various other ones, and they're all like very strong, powerful sort of forces. And yet, you know, and of course you have non-magnetic stuff, which is quite powerful, like electricity, you know. But the one thing that I recently, I don't know, maybe it was about 3 months ago, read was that gravity seems to be the weakest link, and they don't understand why. That's supposed to be a G there. So we have a massive planet, obviously, which is nowhere as big as the sun, obviously, but we have a massive planet with a massive center core, and according to scientists, they don't understand why it's so weak that even a little human being can jump up and down. A little bee, sorry about these drawings, I am reaching round, it was the only way I could do this. Hopefully you can see what I'm drawing, I think you can. Because I know this is at an angle, I don't think it can come up any further. So, and I was thinking, like, maybe I could use a thicker pen. What do you think? I don't know how thick that is on that screen. So, ow, have I got what I was, yeah, I have. Okay, so what I was thinking, I'll use a bigger pen because I think that's rubbish, it's a bit small, unless you're on a massive TV. So, yeah, you have the, people can jump up and down, so they're assuming that gravity is probably one of the weakest forces that we know. And why would that be? So my thought is this. So your table in front of you, we see this as a massively solid object. And I'm sure you've all heard this before, some might not have done so. But actually, it's not. According to science and everything else, it's actually got more space in a solid table than there is physical solid table, because all the atoms are like just randomly dotted out, probably not randomly, but so I was thinking, well, what if there's a reason why there's more space in the table than there are actual physical atoms that make up the table? So I was thinking, well, what if this table is only, so this is the one in front of me now, or in front of you if you're in front of a table or any object, but what if it's spread out between multiple tables in multiple dimensions? And that's how dimensions work. So this table is also in all these different Earths. So you have an Earth here, an Earth here, an Earth here, and gravity, G, because there's so many of these different, and it could be endless. I mean, if there's that much space within a table and there's so few physical parts that make up a table, then maybe there's a finite but almost infinite, if not maybe infinite, I can't imagine it is infinite, amount of different tables spread out, which creates what we call, because if you think about it, I'll explain why, another reason why, but this might be why gravity is weaker than all the other forces, because it has to be spread between all these different parts. If it wasn't, then I'm wondering if this table was literally solid, as we originally thought decades ago, or hundreds of years ago, or even thousands. I don't think it was thousands of years ago. Then maybe no one could jump up, because it would all, this would have been actually solid. There would have been no space in the table, therefore it would be hyper dense, and therefore the gravity would only be concentrated on the one table, and therefore the tree wouldn't have even grown. And I'm wondering, maybe in some dimensions it wasn't actually cut into a table yet. Maybe in some places, or ever, it's still a tree. And maybe those atoms and everything else never even made it. Sorry about that rubbish drawing. I don't even know what that is. I think that was supposed to be a tree. It looks more like a snail with yeah, anyway. So I hope you know where I'm going with that. So then I thought, well, if that's true, then when we had this Big Bang, if that's one theory, there's multiple theories, or you could have the big G guy, or various other theories. I think it's fair to add all. Then in this one there was the voice, which is sound. I knew this was going to be hard to draw from this distance. So you have sound, which is a light frequency, and a light frequency, which is pretty similar to most other theories. If you have a light frequency, or even a sound frequency, then with light you have like a rainbow. So imagine a rainbow with all these different colours, even though this isn't, and it's gradient or graduated. So it will go from one colour, it gets lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter before it changes into the next one. This could be virtually infinite in between each one of those, because where is the point where it actually changes from one colour to another and then turns into start and end either side? So when this was created, maybe that table is in multiple instances within each frequency, like such. So then I thought, could this explain NPCs and stuff like this? So this is Bob, or Dave, or Steve, or I can't think of a name that doesn't exist. Person A. So this is a guy, and he is also made up of all this stuff. So and of course water. Don't know how that factors in different thingies, but we'll just go with it so far. So what if he is also like the table? So there's multiple instances of said guy, like such. But consciousness, what if consciousness, the real consciousness, the real you, yeah? What if that can only concentrate within one person at a time? Because we said the most strongest force was possibly on each epoch, or only one at a time. I don't know. I can't explain that because I'm not a physicist. I think it's a physicist that would come up with that. But what if, so let's say that you can only have your conscious energy controlled or within one of these one area specific frequency. So wherever you're currently resonating, because lots of beliefs and religions believe that we can change our own frequency, whether we're good, bad, whether we're harmonic or not, whether we use certain practices and stuff. So I mean, this could explain how you go up and down these frequencies and how you can switch between each one of these and then be confronted by a completely different table or tree in each one. So what if your consciousness can go from this guy to this guy, for instance? So he had a blue table. So in this one he had a blue table. This one he had a white table. You fall asleep, wake up in the morning, you're confronted by a white table and you're like, oh my God, I've just glitched into another dimension. Everything's the same, but some things are different. So what if this does happen, and then you can go back to this one, or you can return to this one, and there could be an near on an infinite amount. I don't like to say infinite because I'm not always sure that everything is infinite, but I have a feeling there are, but I wouldn't want to say. So then I started to think, okay, so you've gone through multiple instances. So what would happen? That means that, and I have seen NPCs myself before. Won't say too much because but I have seen them. I might do a video on that at some point because I'm fascinated by the concept, even if it's not a real thing. I think the theory of it is great. So let's say that guy, I don't know what we called him, person A I think he was. So let's say person A here is conscious, and then he moves. So wait, he hasn't moved yet. Ignore that. So this guy is also person A. Oh, because he's on the next rung. It's not a mathematical equation, by the way. It's just to signify that it's a different one. So this guy is going through life with all the other real and NPCs that are on within that wavelength. This guy is actually conscious in this wavelength, going through life with real and NPCs. Maybe you can only have a certain amount of conscious people in one planet. Maybe there are only a certain amount anyway. I don't know. I'm just throwing a theory out here, wondering what people think. So what I'm wondering is, this guy seems to be autonomous. And there's actually, I recently saw, I think it was on Dr. OG, but I'm not sure. Dre or OG, sorry. Could have been. I watched quite a few channels. And over the decades, I've seen a lot of documentaries and stuff, and read a lot of books. But I think he mentioned something to do with this, or showed a video, because I know he does a lot of reactions and stuff. I think his show's great. You should watch it. So anyway, I think that if it's possible, you could literally switch to here. So if you're confronted by a real person in this one, and they start acting really differently, is it possible that they've moved into being the real person, and the NPC part of them has cut in? Now they're on automatic mode in here, and you have gone into real mode. And what was I saying? Dr. OG. Yeah, so there was actually, I believe, a classified, which was now unclassified document that someone found through some kind of research. I don't know how true it is. I mean, it looked true, looked like real documents. I haven't found them myself. I'm going to look them up. Where an NPC is actually a description of a real person for the US military, which is just, and it gives a brief description of that person. I'm not saying they're not actually conscious. I mean, I don't know how their entire look upon it is. So, but anyway, back to this. So this is how I think people could travel between different realities. So within different frequencies on different earths. So then I started thinking, well, that kind of worked in my head. I mean, it makes some kind of sense, and so many people either claim they've either come across NPCs or they've switched realities, and I'm thinking that's so like cool. So then I started thinking, well, people manifest stuff, so how does manifesting work? So I started to think, well, I have a problem with manifestation. Not that I think it's wrong, but I did used to have a problem with it because I've actually had it myself. And I'd love to do a video if anyone's interested, not just on my experience. I'll do a few others, but I'll explain my experience if anyone wants. But it did actually happen multiple times, and I was like fascinated by this because I really don't understand. Because let's say if you wanted to manifest a certain car, certain colours, certain pipework, certain engine, even down to the colours of the pipes being in the engine bay, for instance. So instead of having black colours, you would have yellow or red or blue. And that's what you wanted. And then it came to your life. So anyone manifesting is assuming that this was made in a factory. Sorry about that, factory. And then it passed through all these people and all these people's uses. Possibly might have had an accident, might not have had an accident, might have blown tyres, blah, 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 blah. And then it was originally intended to go to this person, but because you sat and meditated and believed it so much, you've redirected that car to not go to that person, but oh no, not now, it's going to you. Or it had to undo all of this to go down a different path to get to you, which I think is a bit narcissistic. In a weird sense, you know, that the world is actually going to change for you, unless, of course, this causes the glitches that we're seeing. Because now more and more people are on the planet, more and more people are trying to manifest or just naturally manifesting, and this is causing this to happen all the time, and it's actually rewriting history because everything's got to change from somewhere in the past, because the metal from this had to be mined somewhere, had to have someone work on it, and all of this could have changed over time just so you can get that car. The other possibility is that all of these instances, from everything you're going to do within limitations, because I think there'll be limitations, means that in this timeline you didn't have this car, but in this time you actually did have this car. So I'm wondering if it's possible that through this manifestation actually just sends you here. So you do get it, but, and then maybe it happens when you're asleep. So you're sleeping away, wake up in the morning, this car manifests itself into your life because there's slight changes. So this might just be one area of one frequency. So all of this within just that one frequency. So going back to this one, you would literally be just in this frequency. So, because if you jump to this frequency, everything would be so different. You probably don't need the car because you've got a completely different car whatsoever and a completely different life, and you wouldn't recognize yourself, and it might be a bit trippy. So I think that all of this within the same frequency, your life is pretty much similar but not the same. So there are slight differences, and maybe you just change to the frequency, you know you're going to get that. It's not too far-fetched to think that in some, well, I mean, jumping from one universe is quite a stretch. So this is not a stretch on that thing, which is that you obviously like this car, you obviously like the colours, you obviously like the style. So that would mean that it's very likely you would have got that one day anyway. So in one of these epochs, in the lifestyle that you're currently in, you would have bought it anyway. So you've just switched to the one where you would have done. That kind of makes sense to me. So this is what I think might be happening. And if it happens during the day, maybe because you're awake, you see, you wouldn't see it in your sleep. Maybe because you're traveling down into another epoch, maybe it causes a time delay. So where you've stopped in that time frame there, entered your NPC in this time frame, left this NPC, maybe that causes a glitch. And then you see something that repeats itself like deja vu, because it's happening twice, because you've reoccurred back. So does that make sense? I mean, I might do another video on this to make it a bit simpler if anyone's interested, but I just wanted to get this crazy idea out there. What does anyone think? Do you like this idea? This is just a slightly working theory. I haven't got an IQ of 400, so but yeah, I've just been thinking about this recently, and it was all brought on as soon as I think it was about 2 or 3 months ago when I saw this. I think it was a documentary or a news thing or something in science, and it was just talking about these different, like all the other forces were really, really strong, but gravity's so weak and nobody understands why. And then I just thought, well, about the spaces in this table, and then all of a sudden all these ideas just jumped into my head. And I've just felt like ever since, because I've wanted to do a real, because I want to do some reaction videos. I might do like 1 or 2 of those a week, and then do another style of video, because I don't want just pumping out constant reaction videos. And I really, really would like the discussion, other people's ideas, what they think of mine, what I think of theirs. Maybe we can come up with some truths together. Maybe we can put something together. Maybe we can put them to bed and say, actually, look, I've thought about this before, and do you know what? Talking to someone else, yeah, it's really bad. Yeah, it's not a good way to go. Doesn't matter. Anyway, thank you for watching this. If you've got this far, I'm absolutely stunningly impressed with you, so thank you, because I don't know how anyone enters my head, and you just have. So but thank you for being here. Please subscribe if you like the channel. Please subscribe. You'd be doing me some major favors. I'd love to go live in the future, so I need 50 subs for that, I believe, and I'd really love to grow this channel, like really would. Please hit the likes. It doesn't cost you anything. I'm not charging you anything. It's just a click and a click. And you can't, I don't think you can hype and all this other stuff that can happen. Oh, share. I think you can share. So share, yeah. Share to people that might be interested. If you got no people that are interested in this sort of thing, please share it. Maybe they can shed a bit of extra information and light to it, or anyone else out there that might have had a similar sort of thought process, and I'd be massively interested. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to stop rambling. Thank you for coming. I'm Sean. This is the next conversation, and I'll see you soon on the next one.